All right, Reds. There are footballers whose names are remembered because of the trophies they lifted. There are others remembered for the goals they scored or the records they broke. But then, there are those rare souls whose legend grows with every passing generation, not because of what they achieved, but because of what the world was denied. Duncan Edwards was one of those men. To many who saw him play, he was the greatest natural footballer England had ever produced. Stronger than anyone, faster than most, gifted with incredible vision, fearless in every challenge, and humble away from the pitch. This is the complete story of Duncan Edwards, the boy from Dudley who became the heart of Manchester United, the jewel of the Busby Babes, and the greatest talent football may ever have lost. Before we begin, if you love Manchester United history, the legends of Old Trafford, and the stories that shaped the greatest club in the world, subscribe to the channel and join our community of Reds. Together, we'll keep these memories alive for generations to come. Now, let's begin. Duncan Edwards was born on the 1st of October 1936 in the industrial town of Dudley in England's Black Country. Life there wasn't easy. Families worked long hours in coal mines, steelworks, and factories. Hard work wasn't admired, it was expected. From an early age, Duncan stood out. He was bigger than boys his own age, but it wasn't just his strength that amazed people. He had an extraordinary understanding of football. He could pass with either foot, strike the ball with incredible power, and read the game as though he were years older. Teachers, coaches, and neighbors all said the same thing. This boy was special. By the age of 14, scouts from across England were traveling to watch him play. Wolverhampton Wanderers wanted him. Aston Villa wanted him. Birmingham City wanted him. But one man believed Duncan belonged somewhere else. Sir Matt Busby. Busby had a vision unlike any manager before him. Rather than filling his team with expensive stars, he wanted to build Manchester United around gifted young players raised together from childhood. Those youngsters would become known forever as the Busby Babes. When Duncan Edwards signed for Manchester United in 1952, excitement spread throughout the club. Even experienced coaches struggled to find the right words to describe him. Some said he was the finest schoolboy footballer England had ever produced. Training at Old Trafford wasn't easy. Standards were incredibly high. But Duncan thrived. He trained harder than everyone else. He hated losing, even in practice matches, and never gave less than 100%. His teammates quickly realized they weren't watching an ordinary teenager. At just 16 years old, Duncan made his first division debut against Cardiff City. He was still legally a schoolboy. Thousands packed into Old Trafford expecting to see a promising youngster. Instead, they watched a player who looked as though he had belonged there for years. Nothing frightened him. He tackled seasoned internationals without hesitation. He carried the ball through midfield with confidence. He sprayed accurate passes all over the pitch. Supporters instantly fell in love with him. As the seasons passed, Duncan developed into one of the most complete footballers anyone had ever seen. He could play in defense, midfield, even attack. It didn't matter where Sir Matt Busby needed him. Duncan delivered. Standing over 6 feet tall, he possessed remarkable strength, yet he moved with surprising elegance. His passing was precise. His shooting was thunderous. His heading was dominant. He was the complete footballer. Soon, England came calling. In 1955, Duncan became one of the youngest players ever selected for the England national team. Experienced internationals were astonished. Despite his age, he carried himself with total confidence. Never arrogant, simply certain. Journalists across Europe began writing glowing reports about Manchester United's young phenomenon. Many believed he would captain England for years to come. Others predicted he would become the greatest footballer on earth. Back at Manchester United, the Busby Babes were thrilling crowds wherever they played. Roger Byrne, Tommy Taylor, Eddie Coleman, Mark Jones, David Pegg, Liam Whelan, Billy Whelan, Bobby Charlton, young men playing fearless attacking football. At the center stood Duncan Edwards. Manchester United won league titles playing exciting football that captured the imagination of supporters everywhere. Old Trafford buzzed with optimism. The future looked limitless. The club wasn't simply building a successful team. It was building a dynasty. Duncan Edwards was expected to become its greatest leader. Even Sir Bobby Charlton, who would later win the Ballon d'Or and the World Cup, admitted that Duncan was probably the finest footballer he had ever seen. That is perhaps the greatest compliment any player could receive. Supporters admired Duncan for more than his football. Despite becoming one of Britain's biggest sporting stars, he remained grounded. Success never changed him. By 1958, Manchester United were challenging not only in England but across Europe. The European Cup represented football's greatest prize. Sir Matt Busby believed English clubs could conquer the continent. The Busby Babes intended to prove them wrong. After defeating Red Star Belgrade and Yugoslavia, Manchester United boarded their flight home. The aircraft stopped in Munich to refuel. Snow covered the runway. Conditions worsened. A third attempt was made. Moments later, disaster struck. The aircraft crashed through the airport perimeter fence before smashing into nearby buildings. 23 people lost their lives. 8 Manchester United players would never return home. Duncan Edwards survived the crash, but he had suffered catastrophic internal injuries. For 15 days, Duncan battled with incredible courage. Supporters across Britain prayed daily for good news. If anyone could survive, surely it would be Duncan Edwards. He had always seemed indestructible. Sadly, on the 21st of February 1958, Duncan Edwards passed away. He was just 21 years old. The nation entered mourning. Manchester was heartbroken. Old Trafford became a place of silence. Thousands gathered outside the stadium, leaving flowers, scarves, and handwritten messages. Many simply stood in tears, unable to comprehend what had happened. The tragedy destroyed one of football's greatest young teams, yet somehow Sir Matt Busby found the strength to rebuild. Years later, Manchester United would rise again, winning the European Cup in 1968. That triumph belonged not only to those who lifted the trophy. It also belonged to the Busby Babes who never had the chance, especially Duncan Edwards. Even today, football historians ask the same question. What if? What if Duncan Edwards had lived? Would he have become the greatest player in football history? No one can answer. But those who played beside him rarely hesitated. They believed the answer was yes. His influence remains everywhere. In Dudley, where statues honor his memory. At Old Trafford, where supporters continue to tell his story. And in every conversation about the greatest players never to fulfill their destiny. His career lasted only a few years. Yet his legacy has endured for generations. Football measures greatness through goals, medals, and appearances. But sometimes greatness cannot be measured by numbers. Sometimes it is measured by respect, by admiration, by possibility, by the dreams that were never allowed to become reality. Duncan Edwards represented everything Manchester United wanted to be: fearless, honest, hard-working, loyal, gifted, selfless. He embodied the values Sir Matt Busby built his club upon. Whenever supporters remember the Busby Babes, Duncan Edwards stands proudly among them, forever young, forever 21, forever wearing the famous red shirt. His story reminds us that football is far bigger than trophies. It is about people, families, communities, dreams, hope, and memory. Every time Manchester United walk onto the pitch at Old Trafford, they carry with them the legacy of those who built the club. Among the greatest of them all is Duncan Edwards, a footballer who inspired generations, a young man taken far too soon, a legend whose story will never fade. Because true greatness never dies. It lives forever in the hearts of those who remember. Thank you for listening. If Duncan Edwards' story moved you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with every Manchester United supporter you know. Let's ensure that the legacy of Duncan Edwards and the Busby Babes is never forgotten. Glory, glory, Manchester United.